Show me the thing! Welcome back to Featured Fan Builds. I'm Captain Xavier, and we're going to be looking at more builds that fans have sent to me, where I am going to be trying a new format of having a couple of really interesting ones that I'm going to actually talk about, and then there's just going to be a big slideshow of all the ones that were, for the most part, cosmetic mods, with the name of the person and the name of the blaster, if they sent me that. Being in the slideshow does not mean that your blaster was not good or interesting. It just means there wasn't as much explanation needed, as it were, as far as, you know, what kind of integrations went on, or if there, you know, something that particularly caught my eye about it. So don't feel bad if you ended up in there. It's just that I had 150 submissions, and at the rate I was going, that was going to take me 10 months to get through if nobody sent me any more, and people send me more all the time. So I'm trying to feature more as possible. There are also some that I ended up not featuring because the pictures that were sent in were too poor of quality to even be able to see the build. So one thing to keep in mind if you're going to be sending me a picture of your build, make sure that you've got decent lighting, that the background and the blaster aren't the same colors so they don't just blend in. Make sure that your shadow is not covering the blaster, and take several pictures from different angles and send them in so that I can get a better idea of what the build actually is. So anyway, let's take a look at the first one. This one was sent in by Lightning Eagle 14. He calls it Genesis, and it is a combination of a crossbolt, 2 strong arms, and an air zone crossbow, which I've never seen one of those integrated into anything that I can think of. It makes for a very unique looking build. I like that it's got the crossbow will fire demolisher rockets. I don't know how well. I looked into them. I've got 2 of them and I've looked into them, but I haven't actually tried firing anything off of them because the mod potential seemed lacking, but for things like taking out a shield at close range, it would actually be perfectly functional. And they're spring-powered, which means they're actually really quick to reload. The strong arms that he's got mounted on either side, I don't actually know how they're fired, if they're linked to the main trigger or not. It does still, the crossbow itself does still function, and it's had its bow arms minimized and the string increased, of course. And I really like the paint job that he's done. The color scheme, with it still comes across as being elite blue, though not quite. It's a little bit brighter and really well done, I think. So those are my thoughts on the Genesis by Lightning Eagle 14. Well done indeed. Next. This next build was by Elam, and it is, as you can see, a minimized Hera, but it's more minimized than any minimized Hera I've seen previously. He not only minimized the back end, but he also minimized the front end, bringing it much shorter, taking off the additional shroud that was around the barrel. And I really like how it came out. It is a very, very clean and nicely minimized blaster. The Hera is still awkwardly large, being very wide, especially since the magazine feeds through the handle, but he's managed to make it look considerably more slim, and I really, really like how that one came out. So well done, Elam. Next up, we have Alan's modified Roughcut that he has modified to fire rival rounds. And I really like this build. I'm really tempted to build one of these myself, because it looks, from a distance, it actually looks like a barrel break, but it isn't. It is a Roughcut that has had both of its barrels singled, but barreled for rival. He made it rear prime. If I do this build, I will probably try to keep it front prime, just because, unless I discover that without a significant spring increase, it can't really fire the rival rounds that well. So that would be one reason to go to the rear prime, because you can then use a much heavier spring load. It is painted entirely black, but it's used for post-apocalyptic LARP type stuff, and it really is very fitting to that setting, I think. So well done, Alan. I really like this one. Next, we have a pair of modified strifes done by Ryan. The first one he calls the Winter Wyvern. It's been upgraded with Krakens and all the usual internal stuff, in addition to an absolutely gorgeous paint job. That fade from blue to white is so very, very well done. And the additional hardware that he's added on there, I think, really goes well with it. I particularly like the extended battery cover that he has with the the Wyvern on it. That is a beautiful, beautiful touch. The second one we have, he named Fenrir, and it's apparently not entirely done yet. I don't know if there's going to be additional paint. I assume there is going to be an additional paint job. But it also has a very nicely done custom battery door there that says Fenrir on it. So, well, and this one also has the same internals, the Kraken, and a full auto kit. So, well done, Ryan. I really like how these are coming together. I look forward to seeing the Fenrir when it's completely done. So, stay tuned for that in the future, possibly. Next! Next we have a modified Rampage done by BigSwede. And as you can see, it's clearly a cosmetic build. He has attempted to make a Roughcut look like a Stormtrooper rifle, an E11. And quite frankly, I think he did a better job at it than Nerf did at making their version of it. There's just some cosmetic details in this one that I think actually look better than theirs, and I think he did a really, really good job. It is used for cosplay, thus the all-black paint job, though he does also have an orange barrel for it for situations where it would be less advisable. It doesn't currently have any internal modifications. It currently just has the stock internals, but he is planning to upgrade the spring and maybe do some other internals to it. So I really like how this one came out. It's not obviously, perfect, but for what it is, for being a Rampage that's been modified, I think he did a really, really good job. So well done, BigSwede. Next! This next one's not terribly complicated. It's done by Semla, and it is a minimized AccuStrike, as you can see, but for some reason, this one struck me as being cleaner than any of the previous ones I've seen, and I'm not entirely sure how he did it, but it really came out looking really, really good. I've always liked the look of the Falcon Fire, and this one just looks that much better because it looks like a Falcon Fire crossed with the old Scout, and I always like the ergonomics of the Scout, so I really like this one. Well done indeed. Last but most certainly not least, we have Andrew's Nemesis pistol, and I absolutely love how this one came out. The black, green, and silver complement each other absolutely beautifully, and the way he's built it, I've seen a couple of Nemesis pistols, and this one seems to be the most well-balanced. I've seen ones where the handle, they just, had like a rough cut handle coming out of the back, and while those look really, really cool, they've got to be horribly front-heavy, and that's what he said was the issue with this one, and why he moved the handle to where he did, and while it's somewhat awkward looking, it would be well balanced, and he says you could actually dual wield these if you were a complete madman. And yeah, I really, really like it. Apparently the trigger lock, the safety lock, actually still works, because it is the Nemesis handle that he's moved. So the battery is in that cavity right below the flywheels. It's been rewired for 3S, obviously, and it's got lights in it which light up both either the stock hopper, though it has been tinted green, which looks beautiful, or you can use the more expensive 3D printed hopper that he has, which apparently costs more than the entire rest of the build, but it increases your capacity to 300, which is, beautiful. And it also has clear sections, so it can also be lit up. And I just love how this one came together. So, beautiful job, Andrew. Let's take a look at a slideshow of some gorgeous, gorgeous paint jobs that people have done. So, enjoy, and see you next time.
Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.